Hello, hello, hello.
Hello?
Are we online? I never know whether I'm already like
Why can
online.
I
I
not
never
hear you?
know. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's see.
Yes,
Can
because
we
last
get?
10 minutes.
Let's see if we can get a confirmation whether we are already online.
Why am I so nervous? It's just a Zoom meeting. It's just you and me. You said it was just you and me.
Don't be. Let's get started. We are online. Welcome back, everyone, to Studium Generale Gent. Welcome to our third installment of this year's Studium program. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome you on behalf of Studium Gent and our principal partner for this evening's lecture, het Kunstencentrum Vooruit. Before we get on with our program, I wanted to say a few words about the major development we had today in Austria. Throughout this day, I've been looking for words for tonight, and I've come to this moment, and I'm afraid that I have still failed to find the right words to give name and perhaps meaning to what terror is and does. I had to think a lot about how, as a child, I witnessed firsthand the cruelty and ferocity of the terror that is war, murder, and carnage. And as an adult, I find myself, with perhaps you as well, a second-hand witness to now decades of war and the terrorism of war. And I'm angry and confused as much as I was a child. I'm angry, confused, and heartbroken. But I'm here tonight. I'm here with you here tonight in the intimacy of my home office and the immediacy of your screens. I'm here tonight because, like you, perhaps, I'm looking for the words to make sense of the society that we live in, that holds so much potential for death and destruction. I'm here hoping to learn because I believe that knowing and understanding are real tools in the dismantling of the processes, the dynamics, and the mechanisms that lead to terror in the mountains of Afghanistan, in the streets of Baghdad, the rabble of Aleppo, the mines of Congo, the prisons of the United States of America, the rainforests of the Amazon, the in the Mediterranean Sea, in the streets of Vienna. I've come here in this space with you, carrying fear, worry, frustration, anger, and sorrow. And I invite you in this space to bring in also your fears, your worries, your frustrations, your anger and sorrows. Because we've been told that learning spaces must be objective, must be unemotional and sterile places. But I do not believe in that. I believe that true learning is only productive when it is allowed to be messy, to be complicated, to be emotional, to be entangled. So, but to do so, we must make a commitment to our own entangled and full selves, but also to make a commitment to those of the people with us in the learning space. And I want to ask you to practice a gentle care for yourselves and for everyone in this space with you. And with everyone, I mean really everyone. I mean your fellow digital audience members, whoever is sitting with you on the couch as you're watching us. I want you to care for me, the moderator. I want you to care for Laura, our speaker tonight. And obviously also our supporting technical team that is answering your questions and giving, assistance in the chat. In our current context here, this space of learning with us, I propose that care for each other means that we make space for each other to be fully present, that we make space for each other to be curious, to ask questions, to not know the answers to questions, to perhaps also not even want to answer certain questions. And when we do try to answer them, to have flawed answers and perhaps flawed solutions, to make mistakes. I want us to make space for each other to be explorative, to be unsure, and perhaps change our minds as well. Caring for ourselves can, in this space tonight, mean that we are accepting of the discomfort, anxiety, and the pain that we bring us with us tonight, or that things being said and or questions might trigger. So I want to encourage you not to externalize your discomfort, not to say, look, this Laura, this Queen Nicola, this Olave, the Studium Gent is making me uncomfortable. They are attacking me. They are threatening me. They're threatening my way of life. They are threatening my beliefs. They're threatening the image of myself that I hold dear. I want to encourage you not to do that. I want to encourage you to sit with that discomfort, with that anxiety and pain, to investigate it, to be curious about it, and perhaps to learn from it. So before I get started with our program, again, I would like to quickly introduce the Studium Generale Gent to any of you that might be joining us for the very first time. So the Studium Generale Gent is the Ghent University of Applied Sciences platform for critical reflections on art, science, culture, and society. The Studium Generale is housed and facilitated by the Gent KASK and Conservatorium, the Gent School of Arts and Conservatorium. We are structurally partnered with Theater aan Zee, the University of Gent, and tonight, also specifically and especially with Vooruit. This year, yeah, we're very happy about me and Laura are like, woo, for Vooruit. This year, the Studium Generale turned 20 years old. And like the previous 19 years, the Studium Generale will offer a program in the course of this year of 10 lectures and debates. And we have a special theme this year. The theme is domination. Now, at Studium, we define domination as the methods and processes by which constructs, epistemological, social, whatnot, constructs are maintained and balances of power are upheld, and that their reproduction is ensured. So we are not particularly interested this year in indicting domination and those who maintain and reproduce it, but we are specifically curious about the ways in which domination obfuscates and marginalizes perspectives, insights, and knowledges. That is why we invited 10 artists, researchers, scientists, performers, and activists that could help us learn, help us expose and articulate those knowledges we are barred from. So far, we've had the pleasure of learning from Warda El-Kaddouri, who brought us critical reflections on domination in Western and Belgian literature. We've also had the privilege of engaging Ikena Azwike on his rich and deeply inspiring vision of a future that is free of the domination of racial hierarchies. And tonight, we're going to listen and talk to Laura Nsengiyumva. Laura Nsengiyumva, if I may just give you a quick bio, is a Belgian-Rwandese artist that is living and loving and working in Brussels. Oh, you're also working in Gent. Yeah, you're also working in Gent, sorry. She won first prize at Kunstsalon Gent in 2011 and second prize at Dakar Biennale in 2012. Nsengiyumva explores themes such as diasporic experience, multiple identity, North-South relations, and empathy. She deals with these topics through images and interventions in colonized spaces. Her transcultural view of history is based on human stories that invite us to find what brings us together. Laura is also my colleague, actually, because she is an artistic researcher at KASK Conservatory. So we asked Laura to share with us her unique and very important research on the origins of the tradition of Sinterklaas and Zwarte Piet. Sinterklaas is like St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, and Zwarte Piet is black-faced. Is it like a Black Pete? You'll explain it all to us. It is a fascinating story of change and evolution. One that has known a more recent inspired adaptation that Laura will tell us all about. Laura, welcome.
Thank you, Mayola. Thank you to be with you.
I would normally invite the audience right now to make you feel right at home with us at Gent, at the Studium Generale and at Vooruit, through a warm applause, and people would cheer. You would hear, "We love you."
I would come like this, and I would do that.
I'm sure somebody would be like, "Yeah," but we can't do that. So I thought maybe to make you feel.
Love. I do feel the love.
You do? Okay, good. But I thought maybe we could do like a quick check-in before we get into the nitty and gritty and ask you to get you grounded a little bit, to ask you, how is your heart today?
My heart?
How is your heart today?
Oh, my love. You know, I'm a bit like everyone. My heart is a bit anxious, a lot of anxiety. But I'm very excited about tonight, about doing my mission, finally. I was so frustrated. And yeah, my heart is light tonight. Yeah. Because I'm with you.
Look, I've already taken so much of your time because you've got some important things to talk to us about. So I'll just leave that to you. I'll go quiet. I'll put myself on mute and give you your space. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm not gonna lose more time, but I just want to say hello to everyone. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm a bit nervous. Like, I don't see you, but it's like I feel so vulnerable, like in my intimate space. But it's wonderful to welcome you in my world, my little world. So let's start. So I'll share my screen. Okay, just a word, because I'm so bad with Zoom and technology, I couldn't have a background, but this is my background for tonight, Justice for Murder, because they're gonna have the trial on the 23rd of November. And until then, we need to make a lot of noise and raise awareness about what happened to this little girl here in Belgium. So please, Justice for Murder. Okay, so let's start. So let me start with a quick introduction of my practice as an artist. My name is Laura Nsengiyumva. I initially studied architecture. I started playing with images in space with this first work, 1994, which is a family portrait, as you can see. It's an autobiographical work about the diasporic experience of the genocide. I went on playing with identities and space with the sound cartography of Brussels, Hélène. This was a sound installation with a monologue that was translated in all African languages spoken in Brussels. I go a bit fast, but it's just so we have time to, to go to the juicy stuff. But I guess my most statement piece is People. It was a monumental installation where we melted a replica of the statue of Leopold II during a night with the body warmth of a whole crowd. The melting, of course, symbolizes the slow disparition of the colonial myth and the colonial propaganda. That was 2 years ago, and we can say this work had the impact it wanted to have, since you know what happened this summer. So here is an image of the sweating, melting Leopold II. I'm also a researcher here in HOGENT, here, I say here, virtually here in HOGENT at KASK. This is like a summary of my thesis called Shaping the Presence of the African Diaspora in Belgium. It's a practical research about the visibility of the African communities in Belgium and the recognition of the sad story that brings us together, of course, the colonialism. So on my big decolonial mission, I choose to tackle the Belgian folklore. The ones who know me, that I'm not afraid of the word radical. It's a word that I cherish to, to describe my work. It is not a popular word in the media, but I use it in the true sense, which is to take by the roots. So tonight, I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna tell you that blackface is bad, but I'm gonna tell you the story of a story of a story. That is the story of the tradition of Sinterklaas. We will travel in time and space to find back all the inspirations and implications that has shaped the tradition of Sinterklaas as we know it today. I don't know who needs to hear it, but we understand the concept of tradition as human-made. So once upon the time, there was an old tradition in Iran. This tradition is considered one of the oldest influences of Sinterklaas. It was 1 century before Jesus Christ. So in the winter, Amun-Horus, father of the new year, offers gifts to the children, just like Sinterklaas. Amun-Horus is in love with a female counterpart, Nana Sarma, the lady of the cold. The legend says that each year they are supposed to meet, but they miss their date because the lady of the cold is asleep. And the rest of the story is that they meet in the spring, but okay. It's not clear when they appeared in the tradition, but Amun-Horus is accompanied by the Haji Firuz, his black-faced slaves. A lot of speculations have been made to know if the Haji Firuz were related to Zwarte Piet. Some historians say it's an evolution of an ancient festivity where they wore masks. For others, their faces are painted because they come back from the dead. And some others make the direct link with the presence of African slaves from Zanzibar in the Middle East. So we have to realize also that the Middle East still carries a lot of negrophobia that comes from that time. So it's not an excuse to say that it comes from Iran, okay. It's the same negrophobia. Then 4 centuries later, there is this guy in Turkey, Nicolas de Mira, a Catholic priest who became famous centuries after his death when a celebration was created around him. In Lorraine, really the region at the center of Belgium, France, and Germany. So it's really like the Germanic French-speaking heart, let's say. The celebration became very popular and expanded in the whole north of Europe. But it was really Catholic celebration, of course. Around the same time, not so far from there, there was another tradition, but this time with a lady at its center. It is Frau Berta, and I love this character. Frau Berta had a dual nature. She was both devil and angel. In this tradition, you find the first educative but punitive aspect. So when the kids are naughty, they get punished by the evil Berta. It's interesting to note that this role of authority is then given at a woman at this point, and not later, but it's interesting. Yeah, it's just a female character with more than one dimension, which is interesting. The centuries pass, And slowly, Frau Berta is forgotten and replaced by Krampus, an evil male character who punishes the naughty kids. Krampus is still celebrated in Germany. Its costume is clearly monstrous and animalistic, as you can see. It's like the actual costume. Saint Nicholas and Krampus come sometimes with a tall, supposedly scary creature of the forest, Knecht Ruprecht. Sorry, I cannot say it. Knecht Ruprecht. He is still impersonated today in Germany, most often without blackface, but we can see that they got influence next, and now they do blackface also. In the same region, the evil character is sometimes confused with some local personalities, actually especially to demonize them, like Hans Trapp in Alsace, who comes to punish the children. And that's the tricky part. Like, he was initially a knight who protested against the Catholic Church. Result, they made him the evil companion of Sinterklaas. So we can see also the political factor also behind the traditions. It takes the name of Ossiker in Luxembourg. And surprisingly, in Luxembourg, we see the reapparition of the angel side of Frau Berta with the female angel that comes along Sinterklaas and Ossiker. Why this female character did not expand to the rest of Europe, we have no idea. A bit more in the west, in the east, sorry, in Switzerland, the companions multiply and become the Schmutzi. Schmutzli means dirt. Initially, they looked more like the Ossiker, but also the tradition evolved to a total blackface. So at this point of the story, this European tradition is composed by a central character, religious and male, and some kind of evil counterpart. That's a bit the narrative, the collective narrative throughout Europe. And the female characters are then almost totally erased. Then comes the 19th century, and this is where the story goes wrong. The story of the story gets wrong. European countries are invading Africa, and in Europe, the colonial propaganda is at its highest point. It's good to remember sometimes that there were also critics towards the enterprise of Leopold II, like the work of this British photographer. Sadly iconic picture of a man staring the chopped hands of his child. So his name is Salah. So to understand the use and impact of propaganda, we have to realize that Europeans had no idea how the Africans looked like. So to justify the invasion of Africa, the theory of race had for mission to self-convince Europeans that they were superior. So this is where started a real fascination for the Black body and an imagery of strange, sometimes scary, sometimes funny, strong but childish Black body. In the imagery, you have to imagine that this imagery is everywhere. It's like a real propaganda. It's not only there and there, it's everywhere. So you can find it on the products, usually on of colonial origin, like for the soap is actually made of palm oil. So yeah, the soap was related to the colony, so all the imagery was linked to that. And on the right, you can see the yeah, the Côte d'Or, the Belgian chocolate, Belgian Congolese chocolate. Okay, so this is where our story goes wrong when the coloniality enters the tradition of Sinterklaas. The evil counterpart is replaced by a Black slave. This tradition is made official in the tale Sinterklaas and the Knecht. So Sinterklaas and his servants. In this version, there's no confusion if it is an African man or not. It is clearly a man of African descent or is caricature. It fits the usual characteristic of the drawing, not of the real person, but of the drawing. So exaggerated red lips, black skin, so no shades of brown almost, and a kind of black cloud to symbolize the texture of the air. Like you don't see no, how do you say, braids or nothing. It's just these clouds. The servant's name is Zwarte Piet in Dutch. He's a submissive but joyful servant. His first version is called Père Fouettard, the whipping father. So he keeps a punitive, violent role while being a slave. So, and I guess that is a duality that is only possible in the Belgian coloniality, that is more based on intern division and on black violence. So yeah, Père Fouettard could only happen in Belgium, I guess. Fast forward till now, and we can see that almost 2 centuries later, this narrative hasn't changed a bit, except for this Germany story that appeared in the late 80s, 90s. I was born then, and it's funny. I remember that in the French-speaking part, Père Fouettard had almost disappeared. I think that the character was too violent for the times, and people were more aware about racism, but there was no big discussion, or maybe I was too young to get it, but just a slow disinterest. But then with the influence of the North, the merchandising, etc., Père Fouettard is now back, but as the joyful servant like Zwarte Piet, but it still has the same name. The story of the story continues at the other side of the ocean in the United States, where the Dutch colonies are trying to define their own, the new identity as Americans after a long war for their independence. They carry with them the tradition of Sinterklaas, who becomes Santa Claus in America. What you see here is a document from the archives of New York. It's a description of the tradition in English. The first big change is that Santa Claus loses his spiritual authority. He's not a Catholic priest anymore. It was a way to distance themselves from the Catholic Church. Santa Claus is then just a joyful, generous white grandpa who comes at Christmas. You can see him in green, in blue, but later mostly in red, and that's why it becomes the égérie and the face of Coca-Cola. So after this commercial influence, the costume is commonly red. Another big change in this version is that Santa Claus is helped by the elves and not by slaves. So, and those magical creatures are imported actually by the Irish colonies. So it's the mix of culture. So this much less violent version of the tradition became very popular in the world, so much so that we now celebrate Sinterklaas and Santa Claus in Europe, while it's basically the same dude. This is not where the story ends. The story of the story continues in the east part of the world in the 20s. Where for communist reasons, they decide to break even further from the religious side and to resuscitate Amunorus, that I spoke of in the beginning, and Nane Sarma, the Lady of the Cold, in a new Sovietic version. So, and they become Dead Moros and Sneguroshka, a man and a woman for more equality, which is very also beautiful to see. And to make no confusion with the American and the European versions, the Soviet characters have blue costumes. But after the fall of the Soviet Union, the traditions aligns itself sometimes with a red costume with the rest of the world. Fun fact, the character of Sneguroshka had a career on her own as inspiration of Princess Elsa, the Disney character. I don't know why Disney has to whitewash everything all the time. I say whitewash like it's East Asian. I mean, it's Russian, but Princess Elsa. Okay, all right. So we can see at this point that of the story that the tradition has seen many aberrations, but the meeting of other cultures by big and small historical events with political and commercial factors. And the change is sometimes slow, sometimes sudden, but it happens. And there is something, I put it in Dutch, sorry, but it's not a quote, it's a kind of analysis of the theory of Levi-Strauss that, that says that primitive societies are organized around a myth, and to evolve, they have to change the myth. And that was supposed to be the definition of a primitive society. And I think we are very, very much the most primitive society I know so far. This is how we arrive in 2017 with one of the last known hybridization of Sinterklaas, the tradition of Queen Nicola. She's a magical creature who manifested herself in me. I'm going to share with you the true, deepest origins of this tradition. In other words, how I came up with that. It came from the simple frustration of wanting to do this job. I was watching all the other Sinterklaas, and I thought, come on, that's for me. I love children. I love giving gifts. What are the criteria that I'm not filling in, you know? It became kind of a metaphor for the ultimate discrimination. And the ultimate response to discrimination to me was to create your own job. So that was the first step. Along with that, like almost all Afro-European young adults, I carried very bad memories, childhood memories of that time of the year, of course. And I needed some kind of healing, and healing is my thing. So the character started to grow and find their own characteristic. My mentor would be made of hair as a reinterpretation of the white beard, I would say, beard of Santa Claus. So this long white beard is a kind of a symbol of power and wisdom. Santa Claus has a white beard, Leopold II has a white beard, even God has a white beard. And I could sense that whiteness was celebrated in all its attributes. So I decided that Afrohead also needed a hair celebration too. So the kids react very positively to the crown. They notice that mine is more curvy. They also assume it grew out of my head like that. And it's a bit true. It entered the legend actually. Wait. So I talk about the apparition of Queen Nicola because it's not very clear to me where it came from, but I really think it's a product of a collective inspiration responding to the needs of the moment. Like we had the new synth in the Netherlands that came more or less at the same time. I think it was just really in the air. So I don't feel much ownership. I only know that I carried some images in my subconscious mind that made this vision possible. And the first one is this picture. It's a picture of my father, who's a pediatrician. It's a difficult word to say, pediatrician. So a doctor for kids. Is not doing Sinterklaas for us there, but I think for his patient at the hospital. It's in the 90s. And I found this picture when I was a kid, and I really believed then that my father was Sinterklaas. And that was a belief that really suited me very much. Another very important image is my queen, my idol forever, the figure skater Soria Bonali. I cannot explain the full impact she had on me as a little black girl, but for the one who don't know her, or maybe you're all too young, Soria Bonali is this famous athlete, like, what's her name? Serena Williams. She was like my Serena Williams. She was this famous athlete. I was 6 years old when I saw her refusing a silver medal because she knew she deserved the gold medal. And then I was 10 years old when I saw her renounce the gold medal and chose Black excellency above all. So she did this beautiful black flip that was an illegal figure, just to prove that she was the best. And yeah, it makes me smile. It makes people smile when they see my passion for soya, but really this image of this black body moving in the winter environment has imprinted my mind very much. She really taught me boldness. So much later, I didn't know, but I was very surprised to learn that actually Queen Nicola was not the first decolonial queen. There was already a queen in her story who fought the Belgian, British, and German colonials exactly from the region where I'm from in Rwanda, East Africa. Her name is Mumsa. She was an active army leader in the time of the German and then Belgian colonies. So really during the reign of Leopold II. Just a bit of context, in pre-colonial Rwanda, the role of female leadership was spiritual and political. So they were really the war strategists. The kingdom was led by a king and his mother, who was a prophetess. She was one of them. And those women would usually fight for the legitimacy of their son and raise armies. So it's really like Game of Thrones, but yeah, even better. So because the colonials came in a very small number, they had to divide to reign, right? So this you know. So the patriarchy of Christianity was quite helpful to back up one male leader against the female leaders. And that is how the Germans helped the king Musinga to get to the throne and recognize the German authority. The tragic part for him is that he later lost all his power when Germany lost its colony to Belgium. So that was for nothing. Queen Mumsa was known for having raised an enormous army able to fight back the colonials and destitute the illegitimate king. Because her legitimacy lied on her spiritual power, the British found the trick to trap her and they imprisoned her for witchcraft. So you see the misogyny and the coloniality goes really hand in hand in our story. Queen Mumsa was a prophetess. She claimed to be one of the many reincarnations of Nyabingi, a queen that was murdered by her men and came back through possessing people for vengeance, according to the legends. Nyabingi became a cult of resistance and liberation that traveled through all Africa and inspired other anti-colonial female leaders like the Queen Zinga that you see from Angola, who fought the Portuguese in Angola. The cult of Nyabingi is still celebrated by the Rastafari in Jamaica, but has totally disappeared, almost totally disappeared in Rwanda. Because of Christianity, it is now seen as evil, actually, to invoke the ancestors, to invoke dead people, which I don't understand because Jesus also is dead. Anyway, but this is what happened. But it's beautiful to see that it's still preserved by the African diaspora that was taken abroad. So we thank them. The theme of the reincarnation also can come back with the multiplication of the queens as a way to survive as a tradition. Here you see the first two of the queens, Mimi Waterfall, who's a slammer, also a very important artist in Antwerp, in Flanders, and Candy and Tumba, beautiful young lady. I think she's famous for being pretty and nice. The idea is, of course, that they multiply spontaneously in the future. I see many other reincarnations of Nyabingi in female Afro-European artists, and surprisingly, they all seem to wear red, almost as a flag. Like here on the left, you can see my queen's easels. in a really a statement piece, Rien à Prouver, and the other queen we all love, Lucinda Yakuza, on her anthem solo that she brought out during the first lockdown. Okay, back to now. Queen Nicola also give gifts to adults, but there are more serious gifts, let's say. This is an happening that we did for Africa Biennale, a festival in Brussels. I had invited all activists, I remember you were there, Olav, to a big chocolate fondue, and of course the chocolate was Zwarte Piet in little chocolate figurines. So each colonial crime comes with the cultural elements that exonerate the crimes, an object of innocence. That was the idea behind that. So, for example, in the festivities of Sinterklaas, it's easy to forget where the chocolates come from, while its production is still actually very colonial, with underpaid and children work still. It's still a colonial product. So the melting here is the same decolonizing process of people that's metaphorically, of course, allows us to enjoy a bit more the full taste of chocolate. Those are the pictures of the happening. Sorry, I forgot to go through the slides, but this is like a picture of now in a cocoa plantation. I then put the leftovers on the stage of Beaux-Arts instead of participating to a panel. That is what I call a radical absence. It came with a text to protest against the cuts in the cultural budget. The cultural world didn't seem to be shocked by how the non-white artists were targeted by this measure of Jan Jambon. The so-called cultural minorities were actually denying access to funds, and there were like a lot of reaction, artistic interventions around that, but nothing about the racist aspect of this measure. So I had to do something, and we did it at Beaux-Arts. So yeah. This is not a radical absence, but a radical presence that I did in FOMU, Antwerp. So instead of participating in the panel, I decided to improvise a small performance where I attached letter balloons. So those are the letters of KOZP, hashtag KOZP, Kikod Zwarte Piet. And accidentally the Z flew away, the Z of Zwarte. So not on purpose, but it was so beautiful. And I went to took a ladder to get it, but it was way too high. So yeah, the Zwarte flew away. So we de-racialized the tradition. Another radical presence of Queen Nicola was last year, the first Kikod Zwarte Piet protest in Belgium. Once again, yes. We were only 10 people, but we really had to do it. There was a pro-Zwarte Piet parade in Antwerp. That's when we constituted this Stop Blackface Belgium, the Belgian wing of Kikod Zwarte Piet. We are now a much bigger group of citizens of all backgrounds, all professional paths, and together we try to create tools for educators, educate ourselves and others, and yeah, create awareness. And we think that this awareness made a big progress, but still there is a lot of work to do at the community level. We still need help to operate the change. So you can follow us on social media and please help us. So I have a message of Miriam Enkens, who is really my other queen from Stop Blackface Belgium. And I'm gonna read it for you. Because of for technological reasons, she's here, but you cannot hear her voice. She's saying, it was a pleasure and honor to protest side by side with Laura Nicola last year during a Sinterklaas parade with an army of black-faced Black Beats. It was a powerful moment when we finally gathered within the parade and held up our signs that conveyed our truth, the truth of a colonial and racist history and present Belgium. Stop blackface, Zwarte Piet is racisme. We willen één Sinterklaasfeest voor alle kinderen. Our silence and peaceful protest was a beautiful moment of her story, of resistance and unity. We all carry the responsibility to demolish this racist, vile, and toxic tradition, which is still hurting and traumatizing our fellow Black and brown citizens and children. Support the struggle, support Queen Nicola, join the movements via social media pages, Stop Blackface Belgium, and Inclusive Sinterklaas Face. So this was the message of Miriam, and really, we really need to support her because she got annoyed by the authorities for this protest. I think she had or she still have to pay something. Or we paid something, but anyway, we got really much in trouble because of this protest. So full support to Stop Blackface Belgium, and we wait for you. So I go on with the now, with the Queen Nicola of 2020. And with this gift, the only gift we will have this year, because we cannot meet each other. Well, this is the legend. So because all myths come with a legend, Queen Nicola needed her own story. And also because the parents were very, very, very demanding. We decided to organize a collective writing with the technology of today, a simple Google Doc. The legend was created based on a first legend written by my fellow researcher, Henri Prasad-Chakre, that we love, mixed with one of my texts, then reshaped by remarks and inputs of the public. A group of final Black female co-writers made the final decisions, and I have to name them. There's Mediatrice of Little African. She's writing new inclusive children for books. For books for children, sorry. There is Angela Tillieu from a cultural worker very well known here in Brussels, and Joël Sambi that we love, a female writer that you can also read in another book that she wrote with Olav here, just here. So those are the final co-writers of this legend. It was very important for us to have it this year since we won't be able to host events. So you are the first public to hear the story, so be kind, or maybe not too kind, but it's my honor to share it with you tonight. Not entirely, it's just the first part, but I will show the PDF and the audio tracks very soon. I'm just gonna ask you to get comfortable and to listen to the sweet voice of my dear Olav, who's gonna read the first part.
Oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous to do the reading. I'm nervous for a number of reasons. One of the reasons why I'm nervous is that I've never seen this happen before. I've done many YouTube live stream events, many, okay? And I've never had that the amount of people who started off the event keep rising and stay high, that people don't leave. That people
really? I have no idea.
I've never seen this. Like, it's amazing. Like, it just keeps going up, and there's like, normally people come and go. So I'm also very nervous because I tried to practice this a few times today. And I'm a little bit like, I hope I can do it justice. Also, because I'm hoping that there are no kids listening with us and who expect a proper performance.
I have to say sorry to a lot of people because we have the legends written in French and Flemish. So we're going to read it tonight in Flemish. Sorry, that was a priority. So maybe it will be ready in December in English, but I don't know. So tonight it's going to be in Flemish. Hopefully, like most of you can understand. But you can still find it.
Okay, bear with me, people. Be kind and generous with my
Can I just do something before? I wanted to share some images of the parties
Oh
at the
yeah.
same time as you read. So
Ooh, I don't think that's gonna be possible.
no.
No, because YouTube only shows the screen of the person speaking.
Okay.
But
So
let us see it now before I get started.
okay. I'll do very fast some. Up.
Oh no, I'm told that it's possible. Somebody is telling me, the technical team is telling me, Olave, it is possible.
Okay. So where do I
Now,
have to partager mon
how though?
écran? What are you seeing right now? Are you seeing my screen?
I'm seeing let's write it together. Join our co-writing challenge. Oh yeah, it's working. It's working. We can do this. I'm gonna do the reading. It's working. Okay, so
Okay.
this is the
Because
first part of the legend,
yes, the
right?
first part of the
So,
legend. And meanwhile, I'm sharing some images taken by my good friend Dan Bros, who's really a very quiet member of the decolonial movement, but who's always there to make the most beautiful images because he thinks it's important for collective history. So there you go. You can go alive, and I just.
okay, and now we're switching naar het Nederlands.
Okay.
Deel 1 heet De wortels van Al-Kirbulan. Er was eens een land, heel dichtbij. Zo dichtbij dat je het haast kon voelen. Zelfs bijna kon proeven. Maar dat land was ziek en hebzuchtig. Alles was er ziek. De mensen, de planten, de dieren, de lucht en de rivieren. De mensen waren verslaafd aan hun traditie. Maar niemand wist nog waar deze traditie vandaan kwam, of door wie ze ooit was uitgevonden. De mensen wisten alleen dat haar oorsprong verbonden was met een ander continent, een ander land hier ver vandaan, Al-Kirbulan. Al-Kirbulan was een land bevolkt met buitengewone mensen, waar heel veel en heel verschillende culturen samenwoonden. Al-Kirbulan was zo'n warm land dat in ieders hart, jong en oud, een zonnetje scheen. Maar in dit land, het zieke land, het land heel dichtbij, zo dichtbij dat je het haast kon proeven, woonde ook de ijskoude man. De ijskoude man was heel erg groot en zat altijd op een groot, heel hoge paard. Van daarboven deelde hij bevelen uit. Een van zijn bevelen was het laten trekken van wortels helemaal van Al-Kirbulan naar dit land, zo dichtbij. De wortels kwamen uit de grond en verstrengelden zich tot kolossale wegen, kolossale gebouwen, kolossale parken in dit land heel dichtbij. En de steden van dit land, het zieke land, waren prachtig. Maar de wortels vermenigvuldigden zich en groeiden letterlijk uit de grond. De ijskoude man wilde altijd meer. En in plaats van deze wildgroei te stoppen, gaf hij de opdracht om nog meer en meer en meer tunnels te graven, zodat er nog meer wortels zouden groeien. De ijskoude man trok en trok en trok nieuwe wortels van Al-Kirbulan naar dit land, dit zieke land. Dit land heel dichtbij, zo dichtbij dat je het haast kon voelen. Hij beval de worteltrekkers om steeds meer wegen aan te leggen en steeds hogere gebouwen te bouwen. Zo hoog dat de bewoners van Al-Kirbulan de zon niet meer konden zien. Beetje bij beetje werden de mensen bang en somber en verdween hun levensvreugde. Ze verloren zo de zon uit hun hart. En daarom in dit land heel dichtbij. Alles en iedereen was ziek geworden. De mensen, de planten, de dieren, de lucht en de rivieren. De steden werden steeds minder mooi. De aarde was bedekt met zoveel wortels dat het onmogelijk was om te zien waar al deze rijkdom vandaan kwam. Het gebeurde vaak dat de bewoners verstrikt raakten in de wortels en struikelden. Hier ver vandaan had Alkebulan heel erg pijn aan haar wortels, aan haar natuur. De ooit gigantische bomen begonnen te krimpen tot kleine, haast onzichtbare plantjes. En de eens zo kleurrijke natuur werd steeds donkerder en grijzer. Te lang al strekten hun wortels zich uit tot het land heel dichtbij. Het zieke land. Het land die Alkebulan beroofde van haar kostbare rijkdommen. In dit land, zo dichtbij, waren de harten van de inwoners ondertussen helemaal bevroren. De ijskoude man op het grote paard besloot een groot feest te geven, zodat de inwoners hun verdriet zouden vergeten. Hij verklaarde: zo is het altijd geweest. Sindsdien vierden de mensen van dit land zo dichtbij deze traditie door hun gezichten zwart te verven. We weten niet waarom. Misschien omdat ze graag de zon in hun hart hadden gehad. Maar deze nieuwe traditie bracht de warmte niet terug. Het werd kouder en kouder in het land, in dit land. Heel dichtbij. Zo dichtbij dat je het haast kon voelen. So, to be continued. That's the first part. We can't hear you, Nicola. Laura, you're on mute. You're on mute. You need to get off mute. Hello?
Okay. Yes. Here I am. Thank you, Ola. Thank you. You took some freedoms.
What? Yeah, sorry.
Liberties.
It's very hard to read this text at the same time and I hope it wasn't too
Yes,
bad.
it's a whole job. I know it's a job. So, but thank you for, you're wonderful. Your voice is great. Thank you for sharing it. I wanted your voice to be the first. That's why.
Well, I'm very curious what the rest of the story is gonna be. I might have had a sneak preview of the rest of the story, but I won't say anything because spoilers are no fun.
Yeah, but you can see already, like, there was an old man frozen on a big how do you say, on a big horse.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So thank you, Laura, for I started calling you Queen Nicola just now, but Laura, we're talking to Laura. Thank you so much for sharing your very thorough research with us on this tradition. You've given me a lot to process and digest. I'm sure also for the audience. I mean, you took us back to more than...
How many are there?
Huh? What?
How many people are...
I'm not going to tell you because it's just going to make you nervous. It's just you and me. Listen, you took us back to more than 2,000 years ago. So I'm not even really sure where to start. But I guess my question is, I cannot be the only one that kind of listens to this presentation of yours and doesn't end up looking at you completely stunned and overwhelmed after having been taken on this whole journey. How do your students, whether they're young and old, react at first after hearing this presentation?
But I didn't do this presentation for my students. For my students who are busy with, they're too old for cooking. We're busy with other stuff. But I did it for teachers, for educators, and yeah, like I can see it's a lot of to process, but it does work. And at the end, you usually have like this this emergency of finding solutions and how are we going to teach to the kids. Like it works. The message, yeah, does the job.
So I know that for like there is this really big insistence in the sort of discourse that like most of the time when we as activists tell people, okay, so this is a blackface tradition and blackfacing is racist, people go like, no, 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 no. I was taught that it came from the chimney, so it isn't racist. And we go like, yeah, but the facts say this, and they go like, no, because I was told this was the chimney, so it isn't this. Or people going like, well, indeed, it's from Iran, so it could not possibly have anything to do with blackface. Or, you know, like how do you sort of engage that kind of like, no, 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 this, all of this is not important. What is important is the story I was told as I was a child. Therefore, the racism of it has been neutralized.
Yeah, for this kind of people, I don't even try. I mean, they have they may be stuck in childhood, you know, like for this is like a pathological level. But at the very human basic level, facts are facts, you know, like it's a factual truth. It's not about saying it's racist or not. I think it was just a very bad accident in history, because you have this this character who has dirt, indeed, who comes from the forest. So Osseker and Strap and all the things that are dirty, indeed, but how they make the connection, the association with black skin and dirt is still there also. Like even when they say they come from the chimney and they see it as progress. So we go from dirt to devil to blackness to dirt again. You know, like when when is it stopping? So those are facts. I think with those people, the people ready to hear, just show facts. I mean, yeah.
So in the beginning, you indicated that you had a decolonial mission in your art and in your teaching, perhaps in your politics, and that's what brought you to question and also research Belgian folklore. And I think for some of my students who are listening with us tonight, the term decolonial might be new to them. Could we perhaps try to kind of give like a definition of what decolonial means? And I'm interested also how it can be manifested in an artistic practice. How can that be related to art?
I think we should start to see what colonial means without the D, because people would assume that we are only talking about the enslavement of African people in Africa, but it's really what comes with it, all the theory, the philosophies that justified this enslavement. So to me, it's also patriarchy. Patriarchy is it goes hand in hand with racism. So as you could see in the story of Queen Nicola, like how misogyny also erased women bit by bit. To me, it's also a colonial thing. Misogyny is also part of the colonial spirit, frame of mind, let's say. It has to do with everything related to power, I think, and hierarchy. So decolonial means the total opposite, going the other direction, let's say, and trying to break the hierarchy, to go beyond the binary male of gender also, and really to deconstruct the theory of race that is so internalized in all of us, even Black people. So this is decolonial to me.
Yeah. So you in an artistic practice, how specific? Because for example, decolonization in a political sense can be, for example, the effort that is made to to fight off the kind of neo-colonial relationships that African countries have with the European and the Western countries. Decoloniality in philosophy can be, people struggling and trying to, sort of show how the construct, or sort of the way that African philosophy has been devalued and unrecognized, so in culture as well. But I'm just curious for you, like how decoloniality in art specifically, especially also because you're a teacher at the art school, how can that be realized, manifested? How does that work?
Yeah, it's I have to do a big big up to my students, because they together what we found out, because we create together, so it's a new practice, let's say, so not new, but it's a practice to define. So we really finding some elements, recurring elements all together. But if I had a red line to have, like, I think there's a lot of deconstruction in the way, like the melting, decomposure, all those movements of that is in materiality of performative. Or anyway, it's always something that's like I'm so bad with talking sometimes, like when you comment tu dis un nœud?
Un nœud, like a knot, a knot.
A knot, yeah. When you detangle the knots. So I see a lot of those kind of aesthetics. What I see a lot, and that's an analysis from my good friend, Dr. Joachim Ben Yacoub, that we all love also, is the recuperation of political colors. And that's an analysis he made in studying the Tunisian revolution, where people really reappropriated the purple color and the national color to have to reclaim actually the identity. That's something you see also a lot intuitively in the work here of resistance, especially against Vlaams-Belang. So the color yellow is often reclaimed and reappropriated. So yeah, the plays on colors. And really, like, the plays on symbols, like existing symbols and the reinterpretations of symbols also a lot. I would say also that performance in decolonial aesthetic has a very particular power, because it's really the art of the purest art. It's just the body, you don't have anything, it's just really your presence. So I think also your presence in the streets, like how you move, what you say, what you wear, in streets or on the online space the same, but your presence, really, the radicality of your presence is also something that's...
We had one of the questions we had ties into this, where somebody says, can you speak more about the concepts or the practices of radical absence and radical presence? And I think that's what they continue saying. I'm specifically interested in how this relates to misogynoir, the sexism against Black women and the social erasure of Black women. And I think that's what you're telling us as well, so that your decoloniality involves also taking cognizance and sort of taking, like really sort of employing that radical presence and absence, obviously, as well, right?
Yes. Can I, like, I'm so, like, everyone's gonna laugh, but I really have to pee, like, for 2 seconds.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. We brought our whole bodies here today. I will take this opportunity to ask you all to go ahead, ask us questions. I think it can be I know it can be very difficult sometimes to want to contribute and make an intervention, but only have as format the question, and it can be very challenging. And I want to encourage you to feel free to perhaps just comment, that you might be feeling something or thinking something, and you might not necessarily have a way to package it in a question, but I want to encourage you to share it regardless, in the form of perhaps a comment. We would be open to that. We might actually comment on your comment, or we might just read it out loud. Either way, we're open. It doesn't have to be just questions. That's right, Laura?
Okay, I'm back with an answer.
Please give us the answer.
Yeah, so thank you for this question, because really the radical absence is for me a tool, and that's something we did with Dr. Ben Yacoub before the lockdown, like 2 years before, like we did the first radical absence, and it was a way to really a posture, let's say, une posture, yeah, a posture of protection, of protecting yourself, of self-love, of yeah, sometimes you can't say no, and it was a way to mediate our absence and to respond. It was an answer against tokenism, actually. So this related to misogynoir, I think the first person who asked me if she wanted to do a black radical absence was Anwe Tsipoma, a curator, who was a black woman. So that says a lot, like who needs to do radical absence? Like really feel free, but it's an open concept. And I think now the whole world is in a radical absence anyway. So yeah, it's a way to disengage.
Yeah.
And to self-protect.
So, okay, so now we've had the time to kind of like sit with you, be with you. A lot of things that we just heard are new stuff. And I wanted to just pick up on some of the things you said that just immediately sparked my interest, and I wrote them down real quickly. So you talked about the figure of Haji Firouz, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm pronouncing it right. It's a black-faced slave that at some point was introduced to the Iranian New Year tradition of Amun Nowruz and Nane Sarma. Now, these black-faced slaves might be linked to the slavery of Black Africans from East Africa in the Middle East. I think that's what you said. And I think most of my students and perhaps our audience members would know very little about the Arab slave trade in the East of Africa. Can you maybe share what you know about the Arab slave trade of Black Africans? And do you believe that the Haji Firouz could be anything other than a racist and colonial representation of Black Africans?
Of course, yes. I do it backwards. Yes, it is. It's really like one of those obvious. Sometimes it's so obvious that people don't want to believe it because it's too confronting. This is one of these cases, I think, of course. But this negrophobia, for me, it's, I think, easier to sense. Because here in Belgium, like we see sometimes the divisions between the African communities and Arabic communities, and that is really rooted in that, actually, because there is a lot of negrophobia still in the Middle East. That explained also why they still enslave people there, refugees, let's not forget. So what I know about this is that it started from the 8th century until now. That's what I know, because it's not done. But so this is for the subconscious thing. So it's still there. And what I wanted to say, sorry, I'm losing my ideas. What else do I know? Yes, of course, coming from Rwanda, I know, like, personally, the cultural exchange with the Arabic countries from Zanzibar. So you have really the Swahili culture is really mixed with Arabic countries from Islam and Christianity from the colonials and everything before that. So the culture is very rich, but it comes from this painful history that is the the Arabic slave trade. So, and this is what it's important to know as a historical fact, but let's be aware of the recuperation of this knowledge by the extreme right, who use it for their own Islamophobia that is also rooted from the same story when they did the Croisades. So they would use this part of the story to say that the Belgian colonials freed the Congolese and Rwandan and Burundian people from the Arabic slave trade, which is not true because actually they were totally complicit. So Leopold used to work with Tipo Tip. Tipo Tip was the slave man of the story. And actually it was more a commercial war. It was not a religious war. It was not an ethnic war. It was really a commercial war between the Europeans and I don't say even Arabic because by then it was already an anachronic term. Those were already Swahili people, so brown people already mixed. So this is what I know about the story. Like my vision, because the historical fact, you can go on Wikipedia like everyone, but my analysis of it.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you're saying that because I've over the years of doing my own research on slavery in history, I've heard a lot of people sort of make vague claims that the Arab slave trade of Black Africans was somehow more benign or something, and I've heard those kind of things, but from what I've been able to find out, specifically in the region of Uganda and Congo, the Arab slave trade was incredibly murderous and violent, and I'm not always sure whether it really merits to make comparisons like that. But anyway, so thank you for kind of bringing that as well into this space to understand that. That this sort of, maybe that's also one of the questions I had with you, is just sort of this reproduction of this strategy in places where Black people are oppressed to use blackface, Like there's this thing you said, and I wrote it down, I really liked it. You said, to justify the invasion of Africa, the theory of race had as a mission to convince Europeans that they were superiors. And this is where started this fascination for the Black body, an imagery of a strange, sometimes scary, sometimes funny, but strong, but childish Black body. And again, like I'm really struck by how consistent this representation of the Black body is across continents. So you have the US blackface tradition in theater, movies, circuses, cartoons, that looks exactly the same as the European tradition of Zwarte Piet. And as you showed us also, the tradition of Haji Firuz. And these are all tied into this colonial histories, different ones.
What is the perfect slave? The perfect slave is submissive, joyful, and does hard worker. Like this is the perfect slave. And this is the hierarchy. And this is why this image is colonial, you see? So, yeah.
So I just think like how well that works. To be able to enslave another, you need to dehumanize them, and caricatures are really great ways to make somebody become, or a person or a group of people to become, how do I say, to become tools that you could just use because they're not real anyways. They're costumes you can put on.
And that's the thing, like with the costume of Zwarte Piet, it's really made based on a drawing, so not on a picture. You see what I mean? But on a drawing. So this is a caricature thing. Like they are not disguised in a real African people. They are disguised in the caricature of a Black people. You see? Yeah. So.
But so there is a concern. I'm getting a lot of questions from the audience where people are like making various sort of there's variations to the question of like, but can we not keep Zwarte Piet in a more positive way? Or like even somebody says
the Roet Piet question.
The Roet Piet as well, the Zwarte Piet, Veeg Piet and Roet Piet. And somebody saying that if we give it another meaning, it can be a kind of democracy and coexistence between Black people and other people Because if we would cancel the celebration of Black people, so Zwarte Piet is a celebration of Black people in this question, certainly after several years, we will hear people who see this abolition of Zwarte Piet as a kind of racism. How do you feel about this idea that this blackface caricature is a celebration of Black people, and that somehow we can give it other meanings to make it okay?
I'm the celebration of Black people. What do you mean? Like, no, yes, I don't want to be dismissive of this question because it's deep. I know, it's really about like. But I heard it also from African people, like saying like. Zwarte Piet, c'est le seul noir qui a un job, tu vois. There's only black man with a job, you know, in this big, huge mythology, like where I'm one black man and he has a job. So that's but this is far from a celebration. This is, I think for me, it would make sense if as evolution, this character would be deracialized. Racialized, which I think is the intuition behind the Root Piet, who goes back to the dirt. But yeah, I don't want to have like a clear meaning, like this is what we should do, this is what we should do, this is, because I already came to the answer.
Yeah.
And also because I think that it's really collectively shaped, you know, by story, by time, by the rest, you know, like. So I have no personal agenda on what this character should become. I know that me, as a fact, Queen Nicola doesn't have any servants. Anyway, like we have allies for the narrative. Also, we have allies, and of course, Queen Nicola is she's a woman who needs, who's in relation with other people, but not this kind of relation. And I just don't see this tradition fitting this new systems of value, you know, like I just don't see why Sinterklaas would need a servant anyway. Black or whatever.
I agree. That is so, I love that you say like Queen Nicola is the celebration of Black people. Like I love that, because this is, I think a lot of people are like indeed struggling and sort of argumenting this sort of idea that we should be grateful. This has been a thing in the Dutch context where I know more about blackface and the anti-blackface activism. We have heard from powerful people many times that we should, as Black people, we should be happy that Zwarte Piet exists because it is a positive image of Black people. But what strikes me as painful is when Black people introduce their own mythologies and their own representations, like Queen Nicola, like the newest Sint in Amsterdam. It's ignored, it's problematized. It is sometimes even, you know, you've talked about how you've received a lot of death threats and trolling and attacks for introducing something very fun for children. You know? And that's what I always have whenever I see images and videos of Queen Nicola with children. I get very emotional. And I am sure I'm not the only Black person that is grown, that is an adult, that gets emotional when they see you with children. I'm sure all the kids love you, but I wonder, how do adult Black people and people of color and white people like do when you're around, when you're with kids? It must be like.
Parents are so funny. Like if there are parents in the room, thank you, because they are like much more excited than the kids. You know, for the kids, they take it as for granted. You know, they didn't grow up like us, but the parents, they always react so excited. I have people crying, like really crying of joy. And they make me cry and we cry, and yeah, it's stupid, but yes, it's very emotional for them, for me, for everyone.
There is one of our audience members says, well, I have studied to be a teacher, and no, wait. This is a comment. I'd like to say it was very powerful to see the images of Queen Nicola holding white kids in her arms and offering them gifts. I couldn't help but notice how it is a reverse version of the images of white saviorism in Africa that is deeply imprinted in all of our minds. And I think it's really powerful for these kids' minds and constructs to associate a Black woman with this kind of images. What an evolution, with exclamation mark. I'd say what a revolution.
That's so cute. That's so nice. But you know, for me, it's so normal because my father is a pediatrician. So like I have pictures, I see my father with white babies and babies of all colors all the time. So I had already constructed indeed this image that do exist. Of the paternalistic figure with colored kids. It's the other way around for the world, but for me it has been like this all my life. Yeah.
I also find it really interesting how we are running. My plan was for us to not go beyond an hour and a half because Zoom rooms and online stuff is just, it's too much. Like 2 hours is intense, right? But the questions are just let me read another comment that I have here. I'm really thankful for making us realize that culture can carry a lot of problematic underlying ways of thinking, like misogyny and racism. It feels like those are embedded in our subconscious because we are raised with it and never question it. I'm from Moroccan origin myself, and I have noticed that some negrophobic ideas are normalized. I feel like other POC, people of color, also have to point out racism in their communities. I often hear POC say they can't be racist because they're not white, but that's simply not right. I love that. There's a rhyming. I often hear POC say they can't be racist because they are not white, but that's simply not right. we got some lyricists here.
Yeah.
How is your experience in dealing with other communities of color as Queen Nicola or as Laura, in dealing with other communities of color in Belgium?
I'm so excited for this question, and thank you for the sister who asked this, because I cannot wait to have the Queen Nicola hijabi. That's the next step. It was supposed to be this year, but we're not going to meet the children. But of course, it is important, and that we heal the divide we were talking about of between the Arabic and African, North and South and Central Africa origins. Like, we have to really heal this divide, and I really hope that Queen Nicola, the Queen Hijabi, is gonna do that for us. We really need this because, you know, like the hijab and the crown, you know, it goes with the talks. So yes, it's a matter of not only of representation, but I don't know how to say, like, I don't feel the responsibility myself. Like I say, like, I don't feel much ownership, but I met so many Khaltis, or the Moroccan aunties who came to Queen Nicola with stars in their eyes. And I was like, no, I have to offer them the ultimate, like, even more, you know, like, so this solidarity is even, it's an answer to the love I received that I want to give back. And the Muslim community is so precious to us. Here in Belgium, they teach us so much about spirituality, about living together, so about generosity. So it's all inspired actually by our communities, our mixed diasporic communities anyway. It's Brussels, so of course we're gonna have Hijabi Queen. Hopefully.
Nice. So do you think, so this is a good question I saw here, where somebody's asking, okay, so can Queen Nicola exist alongside Sinterklaas, or is Queen Nicola like, not to be associated with that dude. Like,
but I think we already coexist.
Or is it a replacement? I don't know. Like, because you're describing all these, and you're really sort of, you have this vision of a future full of different kinds of Queen Nicolas in the country, perhaps on the continent. And I'm just a little bit curious whether you kind of think of it as a replacement of Sinterklaas or a side next to it. Is this a relevant question for you? Maybe you don't think it's relevant.
It is because it's a narrative that we create together, so we have to discuss this. So it's really Sinterklaas. We already kind of coexist. I mean, Queen Nicola is inspired by this tradition. Like, there's no confusion to make. I love this festivity. That's why I want to be part of it. So, of course, we coexist. Of course, we are in a competition. I mean, it's a competition, and I think it's gonna retire at some point. But maybe it's gonna be in 1 or 2 centuries. But we're gonna forget about him, I guess. But still, he can be there. Like, I have nothing against him if he has nothing against me. But I think in the mind of children, they already coexist, and I heard some kids really, for them, it's a spirit. It's the spirit of this winter red character that can be a man, a female, or something. The kids are kind of beyond that.
Yeah.
It's really more an adult question.
Yeah. Do a quick question. Do children ever ask you whether you're married to Sinterklaas?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, yeah? They did. Yeah, they did.
Where do you go? You're like single for life, or what do you say?
I'm like, no, we know each other.
We know each other. We dated, didn't work out bad. I really want to thank you for allowing me to read this excerpt of the Queen Nicola legend that will soon be available.
Yeah.
And so I've had many people also ask, like, "Ooh, can I use this story for my children?" Other people, "Can I use this story? Can I use this story in school?" Other people going like, "Oh, how can we teach children about this?" People got really excited in the comment section, like a lot, very excited about this story. And
that's the idea.
And I'm just curious, can you tell us a little bit about the process that led to it? Right, you said something a little bit about it, but I'm also curious what you hope the legend can do for children, their teachers, and their parents in the future. The written, what we presented today, the trailer.
So what it can do is really the power of the narrative. Like, already Queen Nicola wasn't supposed to have a legend. I thought, like, life is the legend, but actually it was a demand. It didn't, it was not a commercial move. I mean, and then I was like, okay, me as an artist, I want to make a tradition. I'm not a writer. I'm not a fictionalist. Like, I want to make a tradition. So it was, I think, Dr. Benyakoub's idea to make a collective writing. So that was the process. And of course, the Google Doc was kind of messy. People didn't really get how to work it out, but they gave a lot of ideas. Sometimes we had to work through the idea, like the idea of Sacha Renès. I don't know if she's there, but she made a wonderful comment about the idea of the gifts. What is a gift? Because for her, like, the kids should learn to give gifts to each other. So we kind of included that in the legend. So it's really collectively made. So that's for the spirit. And what I hope it does, it was really, because we cannot see the kids this year, it was really a way to get into the arts of people and really into the big imagination, collective imaginary. And yeah, I'm a bit shy. I don't know why I just got shy right now.
That's okay. It's okay to be shy. It's okay to be shy. Can I just say what I think you're gonna do? Can I say it then if you're shy about it?
Like, I don't want to, sound too ambitious or something, or like, do it.
It's okay. I think it's good when we're ambitious. You're making something very beautiful. And I think ambition in this sense would be for more children to have an opportunity to meet, Queen Nicola. And I think that the story of Queen Nicola and the presence, the radical presence of Queen Nicola is a really gift, I think, for young people, but also for the adults that go along with them. But from what I have sort of in conversations with you and with Vooruit, I know you are all very excited to introduce this legend in a way that allows for teachers, parents, and any kind of organizations that work with children to really develop, lesson plans to teach them both decolonial histories, but also, very important cooperative values and of sharing and gifting to one another, and in a very accessible way, give
But the part
children.
for the teachers, like this year wasn't possible because of COVID, but that next year, and you can participate if you want, of course. We're gonna do a leerpakket
Mhm.
ready with tools, teaching tools that we are making. That we are studying with Ari Prasad Sacré. So this is happening anyway. Of course, this is slow, and I carry a lot of my shoulders, but since I have an whole audience with me, I can invite them to participate in this in the development of the tradition, of course. Yeah.
I am going to thank you very, very much for.
Ask, like, just say something, because I know the legend, everyone is waiting for it. Just, you're gonna find it on the Facebook page. That's where
Yeah.
we're gonna share it. So please stay tuned there, or on my Insta page, Queen Nicola, Queen Point Nicola.
And if you liked my reading, you can obviously get in touch with me and ask me to read it out to you. I'll do that. Actually, I must confess, Queen Nicola, I might have done something bad. I must confess. I make a small
No,
confession.
kids.
I did something naughty. I did something naughty last year.
I did.
So last year, I was asked to perform at this really cool choir, queer choir in Brussels, and they asked me to perform as Santa Claus, and I refused. I was like, "I'm sorry, I cannot. What part of me do you think is Santa Claus?" So then I proposed to go as sort of a drag queen slash Queen Nicola slash Santa Claus. But I was like, oh my God, if you find out, you'll be like, oh my God, you're not allowed. But I went and performed.
No, because like, I've written it in the other legend of Queen Nicola for adults that is published somewhere. But the world of drag queen is actually one of the big influence.
Oh, really? Well, I just want to show people the dress I wore. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just need to show you the dress I wore. I'm very proud of this dress. It was this dress with a big, I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't see the dress.
I think it has too much patterns. Oh, but I can see a little bit, yeah.
Right? I love it. It was phenomenal. I don't know. So if you ever need a drag queen, Queen Nicola, I'm applying.
Of course. Okay, please.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Thank you, Queen Nicola, for coming and sharing so much of your wisdom and your hope for the future, for our children and the stories we tell them. Is there anything you would like to share with us?
Can I do some dédicaces?
Yes, please do.
Can I do I want to do a big up to Les Space, my friend Rashida. I want to do a big up to all the DJs of Queen Nicola, DJ Rokia, DJ F-Talk, DJ Boo Boo, my Boo Boo that we love. And all the fantastic teams of Vooruit, Cinema, and yeah, all the people working behind the scenes. Really, I love you. Thank you so much.
I have also a few dédicaces. Big up to Copano, who is part of the Vooruit team, whom without their brilliant and patient guidance, we would not be where we are right now. Thank you so much, Copano. I also want to give a big thank you to Marianne Megang, who is actually the curator that programmed you into this year's series.
Yes, and we
And
thank her for her. And she did a fantastic job also with the promotion, where she invited the Manu Sunquat that we love, also the graphist of the
yeah.
poster that we saw. And so it was all female touch from beginning to end.
And I want to thank my team, which includes Emile Lénard and Simon van der Zande, who are, I don't know, I am so not technical. If I didn't have these young people, this tonight would have been just nothing. It would have been a
Thank
black screen. That's it. It would have been. I'm very, very grateful to Vooruit in general for helping us and being with us as we programmed and facilitated this. Obviously, I want to thank HOGENT, who supports this, the Studium Generale. And there are so many University of Gent students that are here today. So big shout out to the Cultural Studies Department and that team that sent so many students to us. And I think that those are all the things, and obviously KASK and Conservatorium and our other partners like Theater aan Zee.
Hello,
Yeah.
hello, salutjes.
Yeah. So we're gonna have many more this year. We're gonna have many more talks like these or different than these. We don't know how many of them will happen online. Most likely, the upcoming 2 will happen online. So we will have on the 1st of December a talk with Miranda Nirande Kura Ertz. We're gonna talk about mental health, and we will have another one of those stars, Olivia Ruta Zibra. Yes. I see Queen Nicola go like, can I come? It's gonna be on the 15th of December. And I'm very looking forward to it. And I want to thank everyone, your patience and your amazing show up. So many of you turned up for this.
I have the number now then.
Yeah, so we had 236 people with us today. We wouldn't have been illegally allowed to put them in a room together because COVID would have lost its mind, would have been like, I want them all.
Yeah, thank you.
I really hope that you will all keep coming back and we can keep building and growing. Laura in the chat as well really helped us with the transcriptions.
Yeah, thank you.
And Laura, without you, thank you so much for having the patience with following our quick speaking. Okay, this is it. People, go out and play and enjoy yourselves tonight and have a wonderful sleep.